When you do the actual recording, you can cut all this out and
Are you kidding? I'm gonna let M3D do whatever he wants with this.
Hello, this is a Metroid Construction podcast, and today we are discussing the Metroid Construction, or MetConst Olympics, which is a new contest that will span the entire year of 2020. Instead of focusing on making hacks, we're going to be focusing on speedruns and races, where we'll be doing races each month, 2 races depending on when people are free, the applicants are free. And it's sort of a new thing we're trialing in a way, and we'll explain in detail each part of the contest and how we're going to run it in this podcast. I'm joined with MST and Endeavor2.
Hello.
That's Jiffy.
Yes, I'm Jiffy.
Yeah, so this event is going to consist of 10 different races, once per month starting in February and going all the way until November. And each month there will be a different game or hack being raced. And each month you'll have 2 races or 2 attempts, and your best score will be kept. And the person with the most points at the end of the event wins. We'll talk more about the scoring in a minute.
The idea was sort of, as I believe, since MST has been partaking in is it Super Metroid Rando League? You've been doing recently?
Yes, I've been doing that.
I suppose the motivation behind all this has come from that, and allowing MetConst to host its own racing
The
event.
motivation in general actually comes from I've ran a bunch of Metroid Construction community races. So that's been a thing. We have not been doing that for a while. And this is kind of, I guess, the replacement for the community races. This is now something a little more official, something you can actually win some prizes for, while also trying to get a little more publicity for speedrunning hacks. There are people who do that, but it's a very small subset. Obviously, Super Metroid's a big speedrunning game, but not a lot of that transfers over to running hacks. And then on top of that, recently we've had Mage released, somewhat recently. For hacking news, that's pretty recent. We've had hacks come out for GBA-troids now. Some have managed to not suck horribly, so that's astonishing.
Very impressive. It's source material.
There are also a lot of randomizers released for all these games.
Yes.
Only recently
Yes.
there's been a sort of certificate randomizer, but a lot of randomizers affecting the game.
There's a lot of different things coming out for a lot of different games. So, Random League was part of the motivation. The community races was the main starting point. It's kind of evolved into this. Beyond that, obviously, I kind of want to get some more crossover between games, because from my experience, there's very, very few people who run Super that do anything with the GBA-troids. There's very few people that run GBA-troids that do anything with Super, and then nobody cares about Nestroid. So I'm trying to get a little more crossover, and so we kind of developed the schedule and the scoring to kind of try to help reflect that, try and get people more into maybe playing some games they didn't really think about playing before, didn't really want to play because it was a different game that's not their game. So that kind of want to get some more interest overall, 'cause maybe people really like some of the hacks or some of the randos we end up racing, and maybe that'll stem some interest into hacking that in the future.
As part of this motivation, we have designed a contest such that participation is the main focus, and getting involved will be more rewarding than, well, I wouldn't say more rewarding, but almost as rewarding as the position in the race that you arrive in.
You'll
And
get
it
internet points.
Yeah. This will be explained soon after we discuss the actual hacks we're racing, which
Actually,
we
do you
race.
kind of want to go over the description a little bit more?
Oh, do Do we?
Remember the thing you pinned.
Well, yes, I suppose. Well, overall, we're going to leave out January and December, first of all, because, well, we want to have 10 races over 10 months. And rather than having breaks in between, it's just easier to have breaks at the start and the end, sort of for setting everything up, and then perhaps starting next year, which is a plan for this whole thing, is to continue this on in subsequent years.
Yeah, but we might be able to get to that a little bit later. And just off topic real quick, I do want to mention, if anyone has any questions about the event, go ahead, put them in the chat. We'll be doing a Q&A sort of thing later. So if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat, and we'll try and get to those later.
We probably won't respond to the messages yet. It'll all be compiled into the Q&A later.
And I'll put the link to the forum topic in the chat there, so everybody should have that now. So, sorry, continue.
For each race, we will be posting a thread in MetroidConstruction, which is a sub-forum of MetroidConstruction. So everyone will know what day the races will happen on, and everyone will know where they'll be restreamed to, and so on, and it'll be repeated every month, so it's clear for everyone. The idea behind participation is we have a score, which will be explained soon, a score for starting and finishing, as well as a score for the time, and the score for the time is independent of other races. So it's based on your performance and no one else. Rather than a traditional 100-meter race where you're given a medal for first, second, and third, you're given points depending on your personal performance.
Think of it more like a decathlon rather than a single event.
Where people get prizes at the end, but individually we'll have points, and those will be tracked for each month, which will explain the motivation behind each of the points soon. For now, we might as well explain each of the races for each month.
Yep. So we've already got a games list selected, and we'll, I guess, go through the 10 events we've got selected here. So.
Yeah. So the first one in February will be the Zero Mission Hack Spooky Mission. So the low time will be 25 minutes, and the high time will be 3 hours and 35 minutes. So basically, like, if you have the low time or any time below that, you get the maximum amount of points, and then if you have a time higher than the high time, you get 0 points for that.
This will make more sense when you explain the points.
Yeah,
soon.
it will make more sense later. Don't worry.
This is a fantastic order.
What's the categories in that?
Any percent.
For March, we have a Super Metroid Superior race of Legacy, any percent. And the load time will be 57 minutes, and high time will be 4 hours and 30 minutes. So, yeah.
And then our first Metroid entry, the best period, for April is going to be Rogue Dawn, any percent, all bosses. So basically that category just means you have to beat Ridley and Kraid. The low time on that is going to be 23 minutes, 30 seconds, and the high time is going to be 3 hours.
Next up is Super Metroid Y Faster, the second Super Metroid hack in May. Any percent category, so beat the game fast as you can. Low time is 19 minutes and 20 seconds, and the high time is 2 hours and 30 minutes.
And then after that, in June, we will have a race of the Zero Mission Ramp. In the low time will be 35 minutes, or 35 minutes and 30 seconds, and the high time will be 3 hours and 30 minutes.
The seed and the config will be chosen before the race, and
we'll get some additional info on the randos here for the scoring part.
Yep. In July, we'll be having the third Super Metroid race. It's normal Super Metroid, but it's a route randomized at 80%. So the door transitions have changed, but unlike a normal door randomizer, you can go back through them and you go back to the same thing. The load time is 35 minutes, high time is 3 hours and 45 minutes.
And then for our final Nestroid entry in the month of August, we have the MetRandomizer with a very complex setting selected. The load time is 38 minutes 45 seconds, and the high time is going to be 4 hours 8 minutes because very specific.
And in September, it's a Hyper Metroid race, 90%. Hyper Metroid is the biggest hack, or rather the longest hack we have in the list, with the load time being 1 hour and 1 minute, and the high time being 4 hours and 45 minutes.
And then in October, we have our third GBA droid. It'll be the Freeze Flame hack, any percent, and the load time is 18 minutes and 45 seconds, and the high time is 2 hours and 24 minutes.
The final entry to the races in November is Super Metroid Decision, which is Nodeva's. It's 90% run.
It's not his hack.
That's Joshua's hack, I believe.
Oh, it's Metroid Nerds.
No,
oh.
Joshua.
Oh, I resign. SM Decision, any percent. It has a low time of 38 minutes and 25 seconds, and a high time of 3 hours and 3 minutes.
So those are our 10 entries. We only really have one super long hack. The randomizers can obviously end up being longer, but for hacks, we kind of wanted to keep them shorter for this first time. Hopefully not put too much of like a time requirement burden on any runners or anything with this. So because you'll probably be learning, most of these will probably be like learning new routes and everything, so we didn't want to do something like redesign a Z-Factor hack, just a bunch of hacks that'll be like multiple hours each time, because that would be a struggle. So we tried to keep them to a little bit shorter, and these are the ones we came up for the first Olympics.
Hopefully redesign will make another year.
So yes, we are definitely going to be changing things up for the future, but for now, especially since this is the first one, we kind of just want to get a hang of everything. We're going to go with something a little simpler, something a little bit easier overall to do. So, oh sorry, not every.
I'll just say, yeah, I think also one of the things was there's a lot of like Super Metroid hacks, obviously because that has the most history, but I think one of the hopes was as more GBA Droid and Nestroid hacks come out, maybe there'll be more representation of that as well in the future.
Yes. Yes. So, part of the reason for the selection is there's a lot more Super, so we ended up with half the selections being Super Metroid, and then we split the other half between GBA Droids and Nestroid.
Super Metroid is notorious for having more hacks. It's been hacked since 2002, really.
Yeah, that may end up being the standard for the future. There may be times, obviously GBA Droids is picking up a lot, so there may be times they take over the majority, but you obviously can't split 3 into 10 evenly, so this was kind of our way of balancing things out a little bit between them. And so there was a lot of mentions in there of load times and high times. So about the scoring that we said we'll be getting to, I think this would be a good time to discuss that.
Of course.
So first, there's 3 different scoring categories basically, and I'll kind of cover the first 2. The easiest 10 points you'll ever get. There's a total of 25 points you can get for each race.
The easiest 5 points you'll ever get.
No, it's just 10 points. So just being there at the start of the race, because there will be a start time, just being there at the start of the race, whoever's manning the race station at the time, they'll get the list of everyone who's there, 5 points for being there. For finishing, doesn't matter what time. So we have, say the first race we have with Spooky Mission, we have a high time of 3 hours 35 minutes. If you end in 5 hours, you get 5 points for finishing. So 10 points right there just for being there on time, starting, and then finishing the hack.
And then, to do with the low and high times, we have a time to finish score, where we provide a number of points between 0 points and 15 points, depending on how fast the game or hack is beaten. So we use the algorithm, where I use the mathematical skills to determine how many points the entrant gets, depending on their time between the low time and the high time. Now, the low time and the high time I decided arbitrarily for each hack, or each game, each hack. If you somehow... Well, the low time is a bar set for even a task would not be able to beat.
No. A human can get the low time.
Yeah, a human can go beyond the low time if they walk very slowly, which some people are known to do. But the idea is, you most, if not all runners, will land between the low and high time. If you somehow manage to beat the low time, you will always get 15 points. So 15 points before the low time. If you get on the low time, you'll get 15 points. Then you'll get somewhere between 0 and 15 points by the algorithm for low and high times. And then if you go beyond the high time, you'll get 0 points for your time to finish. Although if you still finish, you'll still get the 5 points for finish, which is the incentive behind starting and finishing.
Yeah, so we came up with an example just to help illustrate how the scoring system's going to work. So like if we had this hypothetical race event for, say, like a NES Troid race, where the low time was 22 minutes and the high time was 3 hours. If you had like 22 minutes or below, obviously you'd get the full 15 points for the time to finish. We plugged in some like hypothetical times as well. Like, so for example, if you were to get 38 minutes and 30 seconds, which is in between the low and high time, you'd get 14.42 out of the 15 points. If you had a time of 85 minutes and 18 seconds, you would get 8.398 points. And then if you had 150 minutes, you would get 1.4 points. So just some examples where if you're in between that range, how many points you'll get.
Okay. And something else to mention about the points, to try to help balance things out. The high score you get and the lowest score, just for the times. Your scores for showing up and finishing will always count, but the highest time score and the lowest time score will be dropped. So if someone's, say, really good in Super but sucks in the others, one of their Super scores is going to get dropped. It won't be counted. But on the same side, their horrible Nestroid score is also going to be dropped and not counted.
This
Yeah.
works both ways for people who are better all round at Metroid games and hacks, rather than specializing at one in general.
Yeah, being
So
well-rounded overall is going to be better overall for your score, rather than just focusing, say, on a GBA Troid or Super Metroid, because no one focuses on Nestroid. So if you just focus on one of those, but you're really, really kind of bad at the others, we tried to. This is how we tried to balance things out slightly. So obviously Super's half of it, and there's a lot of Super runners. So that's trying to balance it with just like, nope, we'll drop the high score, because someone may get multiple 15s. They may not get any, but they may have, say, like some 14s or 13s. The highest in that will be dropped completely from the score. And then if you're really bad at Super, your lowest Super score is not going to count. So if you have a couple of ones, a 3 or something down there, that'll get dropped as well.
Yeah, one of the things I like about this event is there's a lot of consideration for, like, because obviously everyone racing here, or not everyone, but most people are going to be pushed out of their comfort zone quite a bit in at least some way, unless you're like a really good speedrunner of both GBA-troid, SM, and Nestroid. Because if you aren't, then obviously it's going to be challenging, but having your lowest score get dropped helps mitigate that. And also you get 5 points for both starting and finishing, so I'd actually say that's pretty good to help prevent you from being intimidated by games that you haven't run before, but it's good to encourage you to start, I guess.
Yes, and the 5 points for finishing is also there to try to help people to get them to finish the game, because I know a lot of times during races, from my experience, obviously if a race isn't going well, you're not playing great or whatever, people sometimes get frustrated and just drop from the race. This system is going to punish you for that. You're losing 20% of your score if you don't finish, of your potential score if you don't finish. So actually finishing it doesn't matter if it takes you 15 hours to finish whatever zero mission rando seed it is. That's going to get you 5 points just for finishing. So
there's no guarantee you'll keep the stream up for those 15 hours, but as long as you
as an example. As an example.
But it's overall designed so that starting and finishing is incentivized. Incentivized?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. We'll go with that British word.
Yeah, so just to recap, the total max score you could get is 25 points for each monthly race. You get 10 for both starting and finishing, and then the other 15 is based on your time, which we discussed before.
Yep, and then you'll have two of your time scores that will be dropped, the high and the lowest one, throughout, so no one gets buffed particularly by, say, super being the half of the races, and no one gets punished too much for super being half of the races.
Yep. So we should now explain the rules, or by we I mean MST.
Okay. Okay, so there's going to be, obviously we're having one game each month. However, there will be 2 races each month for each. And this was just done to try to make things fair for people. The reason this is, mostly it's for the randomizers. Well, okay. Let's start with the first thing. There's different people live in different time zones, believe it or not, and they have different schedules. So the race times are going to try to be set to try to help, let's say, like more European runners, people joining in from Europe. Hopefully that there'll be a race set for their time zone that'll work best overall for them, and then one, say, for like the US and those time zones, there'll be a race set up more for them. You can join both. There's nothing against joining both. You only get 1 start and finish score, so you can't get 20 points for starting and finishing twice in the same month. You'll only still get 10. But your best time is going to be kept. So if you do really poorly the first time, and you can make it to the second race event that month, and you score much better, your better time is going to be kept. So you could use sort of like practice, or anything like that. And with the randomizers, the best recommendation is going to be to try to make both if possible. We obviously cannot use the same randomized seed for each event, so it's going to be a different seed for the 2 races. So there's no way to make that even between 2 different rando seeds. You can get a jet seed right at the start of the month, and then the second race is going to be the slowest seed you've ever seen.
Keep in mind that everyone will have the same seed, so
Yes.
if you do poorly on the first race, then everyone will do poorly on... Well,
if the seed is bad the first race, everyone's going to have that bad seed.
Yeah.
If the seed is great the second race, everyone's going to have that seed. So especially
then-
for the randomizers, that's why I kind of would recommend being there for both, just in case. Because we can't control the randomizer. We're going to generate the rando seed before the race, and that's it. We're not going to be scrolling through checking, we're not going to make 2 seeds and checks like, hey, are these 2 comparable? Are they about the same? We that's just not feasible to do. So that's kind of why we have this workaround of sorts. Plus, if something comes up during the first race, power outage, or whatever else, life event happens, your baby's born, which if you're having a baby while racing, you need to change your priorities. But if something like that were to happen, you still have another event that same month to, I guess, catch up on.
And you might as well race because it's fun.
That too.
It's the main idea. This whole thing is it's fun in general. So you might as well turn up for both races. You lose nothing by turning up.
Except maybe your self-respect.
Maybe your time. No, David, you're going to say something.
Oh no, I was just. But I guess I could also say like, yeah, that's also is good because like if you can't make it to one, then you still have another chance.
Yeah,
that's pretty forgiving.
Yeah, because unfortunately we are going to do a restream. Try to do a restream for each event. Right now we're kind of limited with, I guess, staff. I'm using air quotes here, staff. So as far as like restreaming commentary, we're kind of keeping that kind of small this time. So we don't have a lot of flexibility. And like, hey, sure, we'll do the race this time. We'll postpone it 30 minutes so and so can join in. We're gonna do the two scheduled races. They're gonna start at that time. They maybe a few minutes late just due to setup issues, things like that. But
hopefully there'll be no habit of being more than 5 minutes late.
Yeah. Try to be there, ready, on time. Again, that's 5 points. Being there on time, 5 points.
It will also makes more sense when we post the application, which it's already in the thread, but we'll post it in the chat later on. But there will be no, unless there is further intervention, there will be no joining midway through the year. You have to sign up now. Really.
Yes.
We don't want people saying, I want to turn up to this race, but
you can still show up to the races, but if you want to have any scores tracked for like any rewards or anything, you have to sign up.
Yeah. And the restreams, we're hoping to do them for both,
Yes.
because we have some staff that can restream, and
Yes.
If you're interested in nothing, you can get involved too, and we'll explain how pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll cover that at the end, I believe.
Yep.
So I also want to mention some more of the rules for the races themselves. We are going to be using Speedruns Live or SRL. If you have a timer like a live split or something like that, it has integration with that. You'll need to set up an account there. And then if you need any help with that, you can always ask myself. I think I'm probably the most familiar out of everyone on the staff with that, as far as getting that stuff up and running. Because how that's set up is basically a channel through IRC you end up joining. And once everybody's in there, ready to go, there's a bot that's in there. Once everyone readies up, the bot does a countdown, and then automatically starts your timer for you, so everyone's going to start at the same time. Plus, it'll actually give us the exact end time when you stop your timer, and that's what the score is going to be based off of, is that end time. So don't forget to hit your timer stop. But that will be a requirement for your scores to count as well.
Of course, and we will be recording the scores and posting them each month, so we will keep you all updated on the scores.
Yes, we'll be updating the leaderboard as it goes.
Yep. Perhaps I will sneak the scores into podcasts we make through the year. But I might as well mention the top competitors at the top of the leaderboards will receive prizes. They will receive badges on the forum because it's hosted on MetroidConstruction. Yeah, we have a forum. There'll be badges given to the first, second, and third place, and there'll be other prizes too, which we are happy to invest in big things. So we
are looking into something a little more substantial than some forum badges. So, yeah,
those will be announced towards the end of the event rather than the start. We don't want to say there is a prize, and if you don't like it, then you don't join. We want to.
You will join and then not like it.
You'll be stuck.
Much better. And we might as well talk about the signing up at this point, because we might as well mention we would like some staff members for the event. MSD, if you could post the submission form to the chat, put it on screen in the recording as well. The idea is you need a username for the forum. So if you don't have an account on MetroidConstruction, then go make one. Discord is very useful because we'll be using that for communication for the race, for setting up racing and the victory room. Also, it's called. You can choose if you want to join as a runner, or if you want to help out with staffing, or both. So each of the races will be restreamed by a staff member. The more we get, the better it will be for running the event overall. But commentating, you can commentate particular races, or you can commentate the whole thing.
Yep.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially this first year, we're probably going to be looking for some commentary. If you have any particular game you would want to commentate, say if it's your hack, or you're familiar with runs of that hack or something like that, definitely put that in, because that's what we would like people more familiar with. The commentary is not just to say words while people are running. Kind of more explain kind of what's happening in the runs that are being restreamed. So if you are familiar with something, if you could specify that so we can try and get you in on that. We're probably going to try to limit commentators to like 2, maybe 3. 3 might be a little much, but maybe. But we're try to keep a limit. We're not going to have 20 people talking over 4 restreamed runners. That's not really feasible. So if there's one hack or randomizer in particular you would like to commentate for, definitely specify that.
I should probably ask, are we going to have the runners talk on the stream as well, or
No.
will they be silenced? Okay.
No, there will be no audio coming through on their end. So we'll figure something out. We'll probably just have some background music playing.
Yeah.
Besides the commentators, which the
When you
commentators
apply-
won't be able to hear.
Yeah. When you apply for these positions, keep in mind we'll be asking for some form of experience of the role. So we're okay with some of newcomers, I suppose, wanting a larger involvement, but it would be favourable if there was some past experience with the role. So say if you commentated a different stream or a different run, or you aided restreaming for a different event, you can always write it down in the box and clarify that, and we're more likely to hire you.
There is no pay. Except
pay with your
internet points.
You pay with your blood. but we will likely close the form sometime before the first race.
So early February is when the form will likely be closing.
Sometime February trademark. Yep.
Do it. Yeah.
So get your application as soon as possible.
Yes, and we definitely do want to see more runners for sure. We have some in there already. Some of them are, say, like Jiffy and myself. We are probably going to be the two people most responsible for the restream. So it would be helpful to have more runners, honestly, because if we're helping with the restream, we really won't be able to run that particular week or that event. So we'll be kind of trading off. We'll probably be doing like one each per month so that we can join the other event that's happening, and we'll just have to see who gets screwed on the randomizer with that, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. But so having one of us do that is going to remove a runner from a race. So we do want to see more runners. We want to feature as many different runners as possible throughout the events. We're not just going to say have our top runners on there every week. Maybe we'll look at that in the future as we go forward, but we kind of want to showcase everyone as much as possible. So, and again, you don't have to stream. You do have to be in the race channel in the Speedruns Live SRL, but you don't have to stream. But if you do stream, then we'll be able to at least potentially get you on the restream as well.
Streaming is favorable. Keep in mind,
Yes,
we can understand
do prefer
it. Yeah, it's preferable. If it's impossible for you, then we kind of understand, even though we'll silently hate you. But
edit that out, M3D.
One
streaming
question that worth asking is: should people be talking on their own streams, like as they run, or should they?
They
sure
can. None of their audio will be coming through on the restream.
Okay.
So if you're streaming, you have your own chat or whatever. Obviously during a randomizer, don't look at chat because potentially spoilers from chat saying, hey, someone found something there. For randomizers, that will be specified that the chat is not allowed. However, for the other races where everything's always set, chat's perfectly fine. We don't care. Interact with your chat however you want. That's perfectly fine. That's great. We want you to have fun with that. Just in the interest of fairness for the randomizers, we can't really allow that. So
most people in MetConst are usually fair and they don't tend to cheat. I can't think of any circumstance where there has been cheating in a randomizer.
When they beat me.
Again, in general, there's no circumstances of cheating on MetConst. We're all generally fair. So, I believe that covers everything in general.
I haven't really seen any questions in the chat. So
Well,
yeah.
There is still time. Though you still have like maybe even a little bit over a month to sign up. So if you're interested, definitely check out the forum thread on the MetroidConstruction forums. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to post a link there, but
It was
maybe...
posted at the top of the chat.
No,
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Pretty much all this information is there if you need to look over it again, and the sign up link is there as well.
So here is a question. And yeah, if anyone in the chat has any questions regarding it, go ahead and ask them now.
Shout them loud. Shout them very loud.
Your word.
So Inging is asking, how do you train your commentary skills? Get in voice calls. Practice. Honestly, you can practice yourself. Just pull up one of the speed gaming Twitch channels.
I think
so
there
you
is
don't hear their
more
commentary and just commentate over it. See what happens with that.
there is more than just talking over a stream.
There is more.
You have to understand what is going on in the race.
So for Super Metroid, if you're not familiar with Super at all and you're wondering how they're doing spring ball jumps, what's a speed ball, probably not a good thing to try to commentate.
So
once you have some knowledge of the game.
If you're commentating the zero mission randomizer, you should know about what items people are going for, what strats they're using to get the items, what routes
what's
what's
required to beat the game.
Yep. And analysis of the seed, the config, stuff like that.
Yeah, in order to be able to explain that to the audience, you kind of have to understand it. So that's very good.
Yeah. So yeah, another question is, must we be fluent in Nestroid, GBA, and Super Metroid? No. You must. It would benefit you overall for the scoring, but no. You can actually be terrible at all three and still join. We're not looking for like super great runners. It's more to have fun, kind of showcase the hacks, different randomizers, different games. But no, you don't have to be fluent or good in any of them to run. You don't have to be good in them to commentate them if you know what's going on. So, no, you don't really need to be good or fluent in them.
Yeah, I would say most people aren't going to be fluent in all of them. Most people are going to have at least one Achilles heel where there's a game where they don't run.
It's called
pretty
Metroid.
Yeah.
It's important to clarify that all the hacks on all the games are for each month are all released. So
Yes.
there's practice to be done a day or two before the race, or you can go in blind if you wish.
If you're gonna join, you can start practicing any of them right now. That's why we posted that.
Yeah.
So, I guess to piggyback off a point made a while ago, with doing shorter hacks, a reason that Hyper is one of the last hacks played is because it's a longer hack. So for longer hacks, we kind of want to put them near the end so that people have more time. You'll never see a start of redesign. Redesign may, if we're desperate, show up in one of these, but it'll never be at the start. Longer
April.
hacks will always be pushed back.
April the 1st,
Yes. So,
as the MetConst tradition goes. April the 1st seems to be a date of redesign madness.
okay, so Snake is upset because he's asking bad questions and they're not getting answered. Is reading chat? No, reading chat is allowed, just not for the randomizers.
If you've never played Zone Mission, and there's always a place to start. However, you will need to emulate it 100% legally, of course.
Yes. Also, let me, Connor, Freeze Flame 2.0 is finished. I told you to finish that like 3 months ago, and you still haven't done it. If that is finished before February, I believe that'll be the version we use. If it's not, we'll stick with the current version.
There's still plenty of time because it's further down the list, and I believe that'll be the reason why.
But we still want to give people plenty of time to practice on the version that's going to be run. So it can't be done the month of that event.
Don't do what I did, where I released a new version of Arrival just for the race,
Yeah, don't do that. That's bad.
because then Dopey got stuck in the race, and you found the broken crocodile door.
Yeah.
That I said I fixed, but I didn't.
Yeah. And so yeah. We're try to pick things that are done. But Connor was apparently not done with Freeze Flame. So he should get good and actually finish that. Also, I do want to mention, since Jiffy brought this up, and this is probably somewhat important to discuss a little bit, as for what's allowed, emulators are fine. Generally, we're going to go off by what's generally accepted by speedrunners. So, like, there's certain, like, all versions of the SNES are banned. So that's for Super Metroid. That's not going to work for Super Metroid. It'll need to be an emulator that's actually acceptable and allowed. But so you can run it off emulator, you can run it off console, you can run it off an FPGA console if using a flash cart or whatever.
Emulators are generally favored because of the streaming capabilities. I imagine there's some kind of capture card for SNES hardware, but
people are set up for console, that's perfectly fine. But we're not going to require it.
as long as your emulator is sensible, SNES Nanox is recommended.
Obviously, save states, fast forward, rewind, those things are going to be banned. And using any of those features will forfeit you from that race. So you'll get your 5 points for starting, but you won't get the finish points, and you won't get a time score.
There are some differences between particular emulators. So as long as it's commonly used by speedrunners, or even general use, without any differences in emulation, then it should be fine.
Yep. So, and if you have any questions regarding those, you can definitely ask in the topic. We'll try and help you out with that. And yeah, any questions in general that we don't get to here, ask in the topic, the forum topic. So we can post a response and it'll be there for everyone to see. If you need help setting up your stream, we can put in some recommendations for something like OBS, and then making a scene obviously with that.
Open the window, put the cable through the window. But we're hoping to dedicate a channel in MetroidConstruction Discord, specifically for the event, that we can do all the setting up in.
Yeah.
So if you're signed up and you're in Discord, then you'll have access to that.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's basically gonna cover most of this. I'm pretty excited about this. I think everyone else is as well. Kind of rejuvenate races again, and MetConst try to hopefully get more people interested in maybe some other hacks or games they're not as familiar with. So I did see one of our runners that has submitted a form already. I know from past experience, very good at Super, sucks at GPA and Metroid. So we'll see. I'm kind of hoping that maybe for a runner like that, or a runner that's GBA only and then it's really bad at the other two, kind of hoping maybe get them a little more well-rounded, get them more interested in some of the hacks. You'll notice we don't have any original games in here. There's no like 100% or 0% fusion, anything like that, because this is a hacking community based on Metroid hacks. Probably the closest you're ever going to get to the vanilla games are the randomizers, because we really want to showcase the hacks.
Yeah, I definitely think this is really exciting, because I personally have rarely ever seen people speedrunning hacks now, but it's a really good opportunity we have because, well, we have the hacks. It's be a really good event for everyone to participate in that's pretty unique to our community.
Yeah, and the turnout here is going to kind of help us kind of determine where we're going in the future. We are considering a couple of things. I know Jiffy and I had discussed before doing like a doubles Olympics, where you would choose a partner and go with that, because there are a few things where you can, with something like Multitroid, you can team up with someone else and play through hacks that way. So that is something we might look into in the future. But right now we're just trying to keep it simple right now. Kind of let some of these newer things kind of develop a little more, maybe get a little more stable, more usable with more hacks. Because Multitroids kind of doesn't work with every hack out of the box. So hopefully we'll get some more stuff with that to kind of look into things like that in the future. But for this first season, I think we have a fairly solid set of
it's a very safe setup that we're trialing things, and then in subsequent years we'll reach out further.
In subsequent years, we'll start doing redesign Z Factor back to back.
2022 will be the Paralympics where everyone will all be racing Metroid Fusion blindfolded. Can confirm. Yeah, I think that's everything, and I think we're all good for questions, unless anyone has any last-minute questions they wish to ask.
And again, if any do come to mind, you can ask them in the forum topic as well. Especially if you need help with something, as far as like setting up your SRL, setting up OBS. If you have an emulator you like, you want to know if that's allowed or acceptable, ask in the topic, so we can answer the questions there and kind of have the answer always there.
You're also free to ask either of us for help on the Discord. We're always around, and you can message us, and we'll catch up with your messages if we're not around.
And we're watching you. I mean, when Jiffy says he's always around, that's kind of scary.
When a approver is pinged, I'll ignore it for a couple of hours, and then I'll
wait to see if I've done it yet.
Yeah. Well, I was away from my computer last week, so I couldn't.
So, anyway, yeah, I think that'll just about do it for this Olympics podcast. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add here at the end.
Get signed up. Get ready for fun. There it is. So if you haven't signed up already, get signed up. Sign up your brothers and sisters and your family.
Yes, tell them all to hack Metroid.
Also that. I guess I should add this too. If you think a hack or a randomizer or something, or your own hack, you want to see featured in one of the Olympics, definitely let us know. We'll be looking into. We won't do any serious consideration until later in the year, but we are going to compile a list of potential candidates for hacks to be raced for the next year. So if you have something in mind, also you can message us with that.
Well, I think that's we can conclude it there.
No. Talk more.
I don't see any more questions. I don't think you've got any more too much MST.
Nah, I have not seen any more on here, so I think we're good with that.
So this has been the Metroid Construction podcast on the Metroid Construction Olympics by Jiffy, Nodeva, and MST. Thank you for watching.